We're going to the car and I'll explain how all of this happened. Alright guys, so we're in the car heading to Bangkok Hospital. It's a little bit of a drive, but so I'm going to take this time to explain everything that happened and what's going on. I feel like every time we're consistent with the vlogs, something happens and it's always something major, and it's usually me getting sick or something, but this time it was a really big deal. So let's start with the backstory for those who care. I had 2 black dots on my foot and I thought it was just a cut that had scabbed over, no big deal. And then all of a sudden one day I was throwing up, and I had been going through digestive issues anyway prior to this, but I was throwing up, and then the next day it was worse. There was like, I hadn't eaten and my body was still trying to throw something up. I went through that for a whole day and it was miserable. Then the next day, same thing. I was throwing up, but nothing was coming out because I couldn't even hold down water. And we were like, we have to go to the hospital. Went to the hospital. All they did was give me fluids, and that was it, fluids, and sent me home. Oh, and anti-nausea medication through IV. And then we went home. Get home, I started again. I'm like trying to throw up. My body's trying to expel something. I go through that for 2 more days and it's miserable. I'm like, there's something wrong. There's something in my body. My body's trying to get rid of it. We go back to the hospital, to the ER, and this time it's a different doctor, and she's like, well, let me do blood work. I'm like, well, I was just here 2 days ago. And she's like, oh, well, they didn't do blood work to test for, infection or anything. So she did the blood work, and I had a bacterial infection in my bloodstream. She then sends me back to gastro because they're thinking, oh, maybe it's part of like gastritis from what I had before or whatever. Anyway, we go, the gastro doctor's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. It was this whole thing. And I was like, no, it's not that. So we go back to the ER, and they're like, well, the doctor wants to give you more fluids. And then they were sending me home. And I was like, no, I have a bacterial infection in my bloodstream. I need antibiotics. I worked at Mayo Clinic for so long, and then I worked at Queen's Hospital in Hawaii. So, like, and then there's just things like if you have an infection, you need antibiotics. You don't just send someone home. So they call the doctor. Doctor gives me IV antibiotics, and that's it. And I'm like, we go to pay, and there are no meds. I'm thinking, well, of course, surely I have to be on medication at home. No medication. And I actually lost it. I was like, no, I have bacterial infection. I need antibiotics. Like, what's going on? And they're like, well, your white blood cells are too high. So I'm like, okay, you know what? At this point, let's just go home. Go home. I'm feeling better. Okay. But within 2 days, my right foot swells up like a balloon. I'm gonna put pictures when I'm talking about my foot, the different stages it was in throughout this video. So just FYI, if you're watching, if you get squeamish or anything, it's coming. But my foot swelled up. So we're like, you know what? We're not going back to Bangkok Hospital, further up north, or further, the big one. We're not going to that one. Someone recommended the Bangkok Hospital clinic that's closer to us here in Bangtao. So at this point, I can barely walk because my foot is so swollen, and those little black dots are now seemingly not just little black dots anymore. There's like liquid forming under the skin, and we're just like, okay, something's definitely, And so in Thailand, you can get antibiotics over the counter. You don't need a prescription for it. So I took it upon myself to get antibiotics from the pharmacy. I just told them I had a bacterial infection. When the hospital didn't send me home with any, I took antibiotics myself. I was like, no, something's going on. And so the swelling in my foot went down. But then, so the swelling, when the swelling happened, I got the antibiotics and then the swelling went down. I'm like, okay, maybe it went away. Whatever it was, it's away. So my body was fighting something. Well, then a few days later, that's when I saw the pocket of liquid under the skin of where it was. And, you know, it was really warm to touch. I'm like, okay, it was inflamed. There's something going on. And so we're like, you know, we're not going to go to the other hospital. Let's go to the Bangkok Hospital Clinic closer in Bangkok. We go there. Brandon goes inside and he shows them my foot. And they're like, he's like, can you help my wife? And they're like, yeah, bring her in. And they were the sweetest. If you guys are ever in the northern part of Phuket and you have to go to the doctor, Bangkok Hospital Clinic in Bang Tao is seriously, they are the nicest. It's affordable. We paid out of pocket. They're so great. The doctor's so nice, so amazing. He looked at my foot and he said, well, the reason why you had high white blood cell count is because your body is fighting an infection. So he sees where those 2 dots were and he's like, I'm gonna have to cut that because it's dead tissue and I don't want it to spread. Because at this point you can see that the top of my foot was basically like purple. You can see there was lack of blood flow and everything. So he gave me local anesthesia and he cut it out, and then he was like, oh, I have to go deeper. I have to go deeper. So he ended up having to cut a hole because there was more of the infection underneath. So he cut a hole in the foot, and I had to go in every day for cleaning. I thought that was the worst part of it. Every day we go in for cleaning. I'm so nervous. I'm like, what if it's getting worse? What's going on? I don't know what's happening. He puts me on anti-nausea medication, heavy antibiotics right away. And I go in for cleaning. It's looking good. The hole that he created looking good. And then I think it was the second or third cleaning, all of a sudden I had these black pools of liquid forming under pockets of my skin. And he said, I have to send you back to the main hospital to see the surgeon. And I could tell at this point, people are like, all right, something's going on. Things are happening fast. So that's the backstory. Because after that, we made our way to the main hospital, saw the surgeon. He looked at my foot and he diagnosed it right away. So we'll talk more about the diagnosis. I like to keep my eyes on the road while Superman is driving, as he does for me when I'm driving. So we take this time also to worship, listen to music. We're going in for cleaning right now to the main hospital. And once I go in for cleaning, they're going to hook me up because I'm on IV antibiotics. So there's a lot that happened after this backstory once we got to the main hospital. So I'll explain more of that when we get there and tell you guys what the diagnosis was and what the doctor needed to do to treat it, and financially how God came through and we were able to pay for the surgery out of pocket. So all right, eyes on the road. You guys, we come so much. The tram knows when we're here. So we come every day. I think they know our car. And the guy comes on the tram literally as we're parking, he comes and picks me up. Every day. We're here every day. We're gonna go check in and then we're going to talk about the diagnosis. Alright guys, so we are in the room right now. Real quick, well not real quick, let's talk about the diagnosis. So, hold on. This is gonna be so uncomfortable. I'm gonna have to bend my leg to hold the phone because I don't wanna move my arm. Okay, let me talk to you guys. I'm gonna talk to you guys like this. This is a little better. Now let's talk about diagnosis. I'm in the room right now getting IV antibiotics done. Hopefully today is the last day. But so the diagnosis was necrotizing fasciitis. I could be saying it wrong, but this is how it's spelled. Now, I was advised by Superman, my uncle, and Chanel, who's my best friend, not to look it up and don't look at pictures or anything in it. So I didn't. The doctor said you have to have surgery, like we have to do this like today. Well, we didn't have the money to do that. It's like an $8,000 deposit you have to put down before surgery. So I said, well, I have to go home and try to figure out how we can make this work, how this can happen. So we went home. So they cleaned the wound and I went home and my uncle's like, there is no questioning. Like, you have to get the surgery done. Because the three of them had looked up what I had and I didn't. And my thing is like, yeah, but that's a lot of money. So long story short, we had a lot of delays. Like, God came through with the money, but then getting the money. Like, the delay was 3 days. So the doctor's like, I have to do surgery. It came to a point where he's like, I'll just do the surgery. Like, forget the deposit. Because, mind you, everyone knew how serious it was. And I was still like, I knew it was serious because I was feeling it. And my body was fighting it. But my body was killing itself. And at a pretty quick rate. So necrotizing fasciitis, for those who might not look it up, it's basically a life-threatening, flesh-eating bacterial disease, and it's an infection, and it can come from the gym, training at the gym. I don't train at the gym, but I'm there still, and I have a pretty weak immune system, and if you have a weak immune system, you're more susceptible. So it's a very rare case. Like, people do not get this often, and the thing is it was on my foot, and we did not know how much they would have to cut because remember, I already had like a good size hole in my foot. So I have this flesh-eating skin disease, bacteria, just like eating away at the skin at my foot, and it's isolated, so it's not leaving my foot. So of course, all of these things go through my head. So we're like, okay, let's do the surgery. So then once we're like, okay, well, the surgery has to get done and God provided the money, getting the money. Let's just say, if I told you guys step by step, literally, right? Like moment by moment on these 3 days, the surgery was delayed by 3 days because we were trying to get the money from America over to Thailand. When I tell you these delays, if I would have known what I had, I probably would have mentally lost it. Superman, is over here like, you don't understand, like, you need the surgery. But we knew that the delay, like, there was nothing we can do. Everyone was doing what they could. And just all these delays, so we just had to trust God. And, God just really came through. He came through financially. And he also came through in regards to the surgery. So I went in, I decided to do general anesthesia because they were going to do a spinal tap. And I was like, no. I want general anesthesia. And I went under, and we were scheduled to stay in the hospital for 7 days. Well, we go in, I get the surgery, and the doctor comes in, and he ended up having to cut more surface area than expected, because when he got in there was like a layer of yellow, I guess, infection on top of dead tissue. So the crazy thing is, the dead tissue, the whole thing was it can't spread, because that spreads, then, I could lose my whole foot. But then the infection as well. It turns out that the infection, despite the delays that we had for surgery, the infection did not hit a tendon. It did not hit my bone. None of that. I do have a huge chunk of my foot gone. So after surgery, they had to put a wound vac on for a few days, which was nice because no one touched it. It wasn't being cleaned. But I did have this tube coming out of the wound, and there was suction like that. So that was tricky for a few days to maneuver, hop around and stuff. But I am very grateful that I still have my foot. I'm very, very blessed beyond measure that I have the people in my circle that I do. Right now is a mental battle for me. So I've had to be on IV antibiotics every day since everything. So that was the diagnosis. So let's back up a little bit. So the surgery went well. In the beginning, when he first looked at it, the surgeon was like, we're probably going to have to do more than one surgery, and then you're probably going to need a graft. I have grafts on my hands because my fingers were webbed together, so I'm not concerned about the aesthetics of how my foot's going to look and all that. I just don't want to go through another surgery. But he ended up taking the wound vac out in 2 days. And then by day 4 or 5, we went home. He was like, oh, you can go home. So we ended up not needing to stay in the hospital for a full week, which was nice. We got to go home, sleep in our own bed, and, just be in cleanliness. And so that was nice. So God provided the money. God held off the infection from going deeper than it could have, despite the delays. And, it didn't go deeper. It didn't spread further. And I got to keep my foot. The challenge is now there is no skin. So I wish I can show you guys the picture of what my foot looks like now, because you can see, I have an idea. I'm pretty sure my foot looks like, those muscular charts that you have in biology class. I'm pretty sure that's what my foot looks like. But when I go in for cleaning, this is how I show up for cleaning. I don't want to look. The doctor knows I don't want to look. The nurses know I don't want to look. I don't want to see it because I feel like it might mess with my head as far as walking, because I'm having a hard time mentally thinking of bearing weight on that foot because there's no skin. So in videos down the line, I'll show you what my foot looked like before it healed. So right now we're waiting for the tissue to heal. We're waiting for the skin to heal over it. I might need a graft depending how everything heals. I thank everyone for prayers, and hopefully today is the last day of being on IV antibiotic. So that was the thing. When we got discharged from the hospital, the doctor said I have to come in every day for cleaning. So every morning we drive to the hospital and they clean my wound, and it is not my favorite experience. Today went a lot better actually than all the other days. And I didn't take pain medicine. I'm not in any pain. It's just uncomfortable. The sensations are uncomfortable. The feeling of oh, there's no skin. And what if my blood vessels just everywhere, So it's just uncomfortable, but I'm not in any pain. Thank God. I really, really thank God for that because of how deep it is. But so basically I have to come in every day for cleaning and every day for IV antibiotics. So they take us up to a room and the nurses watch me for an hour and I get the antibiotic running through me. And today is hopefully the last day of IV antibiotics. Tomorrow we see the surgeon again. I haven't seen him the past 3 days. The nurses and stuff have been there cleaning it. but he'll take a look at it tomorrow, and hopefully no more IV antibiotics, but we'll see. In the next few weeks, we'll see if I'll need a graft. But that's my story. How did it happen? Let's end it with that. We don't know. And people ask, did you get cut? Did you get from a fall, motorbike accident, a bite? You guys, we genuinely don't know. I mean, I get cuts and things on my body all the time. And we actually thought, I think I have a picture. I'm going to show you the cut we thought it was, because I cut my foot on the glass shower door in our bathroom. And at first we thought that that's what it was. Not these 2 black dots. They just look like they were just scabs. But now when you look back at it, you can see it happened slowly, over a course of weeks. So by the time I was doing all the throwing up and went to the ER and they didn't diagnose me properly, that was the scary and frustrating part, is because I probably could have kept my foot, the majority of it. I probably wouldn't have had to go through all of this. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason, and it sounds so cliche, but we're going to go through ups and downs in life, and sometimes we're not going to understand why. But I'm just very grateful that I have my foot, and I am looking forward to posting videos in the coming months of me actually walking again. No crutches, no cane, nothing. And but until then, this is, road to recovery. And we don't know. I could have gone it from the gym, because I go to training with Superman every day, but I don't train there. And before everyone talks about they need to do better, I mean, if you're in any type of mixed martial arts sport, whether it's MMA, or just jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, Muay Thai, these gyms, they're germs. It's everywhere. It is what it is. People get staph. It's just crazy, because I didn't train, so we don't know genuinely where we got it from. So I'm not going to speculate, because the gym does a very good job at keeping clean and telling people to shower and things, but that's a part of the sport. We just figured it would be Superman kind of going through these things. But no, I pray that none of us go through this after this. So it's a mystery how, but at this point it's not important how I got it, where it came from. The important thing is God got us through, and I say us because a lot of people sacrifice their time, energy, and emotions going through this, and it's not over. But you know what? It's going to be all good. I really, really hope that this answered a lot of questions for you guys. There's so many gaps in the story, because you know what? Honestly, you just had to be there. But I hope this helps. If you see anything, don't take a while to go to the doctor. And when you know something's wrong, really advocate for yourself, because we did. I can't imagine what would have happened if we didn't get the IV antibiotics the second time we got to the ER and knew something was really wrong. So just know that, you can get through it. Keep a good circle around you, and, keep the faith. And I think God is definitely, I just don't know what I would have done if I didn't have him at the center of all of this. When I needed peace, he brought peace. When I needed, I just had so many questions, he brought comfort, and rest when I needed rest, and strength when I needed strength. And so keep the faith, you guys, and here's hoping that we have more videos of me running and using this foot. But that's what happened. So, necrotizing fasciitis, that's the backstory. That was the diagnosis, why we're here in the hospital, and why you saw me on crutches. So, all right. Don't forget to like, subscribe, if you love our videos, if you want to continue on the journey, we have a lot of questions from a lot of different people, and I'm just taking my time. Are we staying in Thailand? Are we going to leave Thailand? There's a lot that Superman and I have to talk about and think about, but you guys will find all of that out as we find out. Until next time, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Waiting for the shuttle bus. Wrong time.